Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Experience RC. If you're new to this channel, my name is Matt. If you haven't already, then please subscribe if you do enjoy this upload. Say hello in the comments and hit the bell for notifications as well so you can see all upcoming content. So today I wanted to put a video together of my honest opinions on which truck I think is the better one out of the Axial SCX10.2 and the Traxxas TRX4. Now, I'm going to try and keep my opinions not specific to the Bronco, because really that's just a difference in body and wheel base length as well if you're looking at the Defender. And I have got the kit version of the SCX10.2. Of course, this isn't the stock body, but I'm going to give you my opinions as if it, well, from when it was a stock body. Reason I wanted to do this, when I found that I was looking for information on which one I wanted to buy at the time. So it was about this time last year, January 2018, I was trying to outweigh which one I wanted. And it took me a couple of months to decide, really. I was really struggling. Both have got massive strengths and massive weaknesses compared to one another. Of course, one is more expensive than the other, but I found that every video I watched didn't really tell me which one somebody thought was better. It was always, this one is better, but then this has this, and vice versa, and it was just unhelpful. I ended up going with the SCX10.2 as the first one I got, based upon it being a little bit more simple for me and not knowing what direction I was going to take that truck at the time, if I wanted to modify it or not. I just knew this one was going to be a little bit easier because there's less gizmos and gadgets on it, if you like. But I wish I'd found something that had helped me a little bit more at the time. So I thought I'd do that now. Hopefully this gives you guys some help or some ideas or just a little bit of information, or from my opinion anyway, if you're looking at which one to buy, which one to pick up. So I have put some notes together just myself so I don't forget some of the things I was thinking of, but let's get started. So straight away, the most important thing probably for everyone you're buying a new rig is the price. First off, it's very easy to start looking at YouTubers and people's massive collections and only ever really looking at the most expensive trucks. Now, the TRX4 is typically always the Defender, but that's the most expensive one. Doesn't mean that everybody can afford that one. Doesn't mean that everybody can afford the most expensive SCX10.2 either. Of course, there's nothing wrong with the cheaper models, but you have to bear in mind that on the cheaper models you will get more plastic links, you will get weaker parts, and it certainly will cost you money in the future to upgrade those parts. So just bear that in mind. If something is more expensive up front, providing you're getting better parts on the vehicle for it, is justified. That's one of the reasons why I picked up the SCX10.2 kit version and not any of the RTRs, because I've got a better links, I've got the better transmission in that. Even though the whole rig at the end of it cost more than what it would have been buying an RTR, I ended up with a better vehicle at the end of it. So price is subjective. Price is in one way linked to value for money, it's linked to what you can afford, but most importantly it's linked to what's value to what you want to buy. So if you don't want the most expensive one because you don't need half of the features it's got, then don't bother. But it's the starting point for everyone. So of course, I'm sure you guys know the TRX4 for the unassembled kit, which is probably one of the newest releases for the TRX4, starts about £395 to £500 for the TRX4. So it certainly is the more expensive vehicle of the two when you compare it to the SCX10.2, which starts from £270 and goes all the way up to about £370. However, it's really important to note that whilst the TRX4 is more expensive, you certainly do get more for your money. For a start, you get the portals. I won't go into details of what these are, I'm sure you already know it, but bear in mind, you get your portals, you get an extra 2 micro servos on there to lock and unlock both the front and rear diffs. You also get a 5-channel, I think it's a 5-channel receiver and transmitter as well, which is more than what you get on the Axials. So yes, it's more expensive, but I think, to be fair, the cost is justified. Bearing in mind, if you don't want the extra gadgets on there, you can also go with the cheaper Traxxas TRX4 Sport, which, to be honest, I think is awesome. I think they've hit the nail on the head with that. If you don't want all the extra gubbins, all the extra electrics, that might go wrong. They might do, but they might not. The TRX4 I think is an awesome truck as well, and that retails I think around £360 here in the UK. Sorry, I should have mentioned that a minute ago. And so based upon price, if you're looking at which one's going to be the cheaper vehicle, you're certainly going to pick up an SCX10.2. There's no question about that. Bearing in mind we're talking about new vehicles here and not used, but simply SCX10.2, the Axial range is cheaper. But bear in mind, you're getting less for your money. But is that relevant to you? Only you know that. The functionality, so touching on both, the TRX4 and the SCX10.2 are both waterproof and with the electronics that they come with. Both, of course, have models with lock diffs throughout. So all of the Axial SCX10.2 range come with diffs that are always locked, which matches the TRX4 Sport. But then with the TRX4, you have the optional locking and unlocking of the diffs. And again, functionality, because of those extra features, you do get a better transmitter and receiver. No need to go and buy anything else, anything fancy. I mean, if you end up having 5 channels running on your SCX10.2, you're going to need a better transmitter. You're going to need a more expensive transmitter and receivers. But you get that with the box. So functionality-wise, you are looking at more accessories on this. These are a single speed out of the boxes, but you can convert them to a dual speed. But of course, bear in mind then that you are adding additional cost. So based on this functionality, forgetting cost, because you are paying more, but you're getting more functionality out of the box, the TRX4 wins. And it adds a lot more fun to it as well. I'm going to touch on that in a little bit. But typically when you spend more in this hobby, I've found... I have personally found that I get more fun out of it too. Okay, so moving on now to weaknesses out of the box. It's probably not fair of me to touch on this, but I'm going to mention it anyway. I think for any decent crawler, you need a set of heavy bead locks on there. Nothing excessively heavy, but all bead locks are heavier than plastic wheels, of course. So the bit that's a little bit frustrating with the Bronco, but it is to be expected, it's an RTR. You got plastic bead locks. But what makes this annoying is that the tyres are really good. But because the tyres and the bead locks are glued together, you can't easily change the bead locks unless you buy another set of tyres as well, or unless you have luck boiling them. But it depends if you want to get to all that effort. So maybe clutching at straws a little bit there, but I do consider that to be a weakness out of the box. For the cost, I'd have liked to have seen some metal bead locks, even if they were just some stamped steel things. But I would have liked to see a little bit more there, but it is what it is. Something else with the TRX4, I'm sure you probably read about it. The stock servo is weak. I have noticed that when I've been out, so I just tend to not turn the wheels when the thing is wedged between something, so I want to extend the life as much as I can. However, that is not going to be helped by changing the bead lock, well, changing the wheels to bead locks. Of course, I'm adding more weight down below. It's going to put more strain on the servo. So just bear that in mind. That if you leave this truck as it is out of the box, it's probably going to last a little while. But if you start adding weight, if you start changing the wheels, if you put some really gnarly big tyres on it, you're going to put that servo under a lot of strain. And in all honesty, you might as well rip it out, put in a higher torque servo and save that one for another project. Don't run it till it burns out, because you're just wasting your money. Take it out while it's still working, chuck it in something else. But in all honesty, weaknesses out of the box, that's all I could really find for it. In relation to the SCX10.2 kit version I had, the worst things out of the box was that absolutely awful front bumper. God knows what they were doing when they designed that in the design stages, but it was terrible. Got hung up on absolutely everything. So just bear in mind, if you go with a kit version, you will certainly be changing that out. They may as well not even include it. Also, the hitch or the tow bar on the back has like a little nipple on the plastic on the bottom. That was getting hung up on everything. So expect to either file that down or take that plastic hitch off and fit a smooth metal one on there. But they were two of the most frustrating things out of the box, because otherwise than that, it was very capable, but it just kept getting hung up on things. Bad designs really, and that's not value for money. Whenever I buy a truck, if there's things I have to take off it when it's brand new, I'm sure we've all got a box somewhere that's full of new parts for new trucks that are a waste of time. If they're that bad, don't put them on there. Simple. So yeah, plastic bead locks again across the whole Axial range. I don't feel like we should be having RTRs with plastic bead locks. Let's put some stamped steel, metal things on there, anything but not plastic. They're no good. They're a waste of time. Is it fair to mark these trucks down because of bead lock wheels? I think it is, yeah. And you guys will have noticed across my channel, I do mention money a fair bit because it's important to me to get value for money on this hobby. And there's so many things that we buy and we just accept that, well, the wheels are no good, we'll trash them. The tyres are no good, we'll trash them. The bumpers are no good, we'll trash them. So hang on. We should really be going back to the, to the manufacturers of these and going, why are we getting crap tyres? Why are we getting crap bumpers? Why are we paying for drive shafts that are snapping? The RC4 Drive Galande 2 D90 kit that I've got, it's £500 chassis kit alone, and after about 3 or 4 minutes of its first drive, snapped the drive shaft. That's unacceptable, but it seems to just, no one seems to really care about it. It irritates me. That's why I mention value for money so much. So there are certainly things that both could have that are improved out of the box. But if I was to pick a winner, it's going to be the TRX4. I just feel like it has less weaknesses. This one, other than the cosmetic modifications I've done with adding some lights to it and with doing the windows and adding a roof rack, I can't fault it really as of yet. It's absolutely fine. Yeah, the servo's weak, drive it responsibly, try and make it last as long as I can. Or when I've got some money, I'll chuck a better one in there. There is a limit from where they can just start putting all the best stuff in a box because nobody will be able to afford them in the first place. But there's nothing on this that's holding me up from going straight outside at the moment. The awful bumpers that came on this truck at the beginning, I mean, what the heck's that all about? It's terrible. That literally just rams and digs into everything. It's awful. I'm sorry, that's inexcusable. And it sticks out an inch and a half. Why? Why? And again, that's the rear. I mean, that is not, especially for the kit version where you're supposed to be getting the better parts. That's not acceptable. It's awful. Just don't put it in there. Just tell me on the box, no bumpers, and I'll buy some better ones. But yeah, so back to summarising it out of the box, the TRX4 has got less weaknesses. I can just take it out as it is. You guys have seen so far on my channel. If you're following, and if not, then please get back for the last maybe 10 or so videos. This thing's already taken a beating in 0 temperatures outside, and the suspension's been smooth, it's been fluid. It doesn't really roll much either. Not my experiences when this had the Cherokee body on. But there we go. Strengths out of the box. This was a fun one to do. What is so important to remember here is that one is more expensive than the other out of the box. You can put endless amounts of money into these, but please remember that one is more expensive out of the box. So we'll start with the TRX4. Tyres are amazing. If they weren't as good as I've experienced them, I would have already put some bead locks on this, and I would have also probably have put some Boom Racing Hustler Extremes on, which is what I've got on my Defender, because they're a great tyre. However, these have been brilliant. They're really gnarly tyres. I can't see any reasons at the minute as to why I'm going to change them. The only reason they will get changed is if I really find a set of bead locks that I like. But I'm probably going to try and run them as long as I can because they're fantastic. I've got absolutely no complaints. This has got more battery options by far. So you've got your main battery tray. And then underneath that battery tray, you've got another section for a battery. The clip for holding the battery in. This thing twists around so you can have a higher battery in there. And you've also got space at the front as well for an additional battery, which is where I put a little 3S LiPo which powers my lights. It's got portals as well, which in all honesty I really didn't care about when I had it, but a video that you guys will soon see. it handles the rocks a lot better. It still got caught up on stuff, but this was a very nasty, jagged wall, covered in rocks. Well, it was a rock wall. And whilst it got hung up, it didn't get hung up nowhere near as much as this did at the beginning. And that was when I noticed the difference as well. Bearing in mind there's going to be less pressure as well on the axles of the TRX4 because of the portal gears. So yeah, big strength out of the box. You're paying for it, but it's big strength. Wheel wells, it's just a hassle that you don't have to deal with. It should be on every RTR, especially the Lexan stuff, because it makes a phenomenal difference in having them look scale. Every truck is going to get wet, every truck is going to get dirty, everything's going to have mud spit up somewhere inside, but it's great on this, especially when you've got your micro servos in there as well. You're going to get less brambles and weeds and just general gunk tied up around some of the components. And I've had this thing flat out through the snow, through the mud, through a little stream so far, and every time I take the body off, I'm surprised at how clean it is. I really am. And that's just going to help it last longer. It's going to mean I have to do less intense cleaning on there. Yes, you can buy wheel wells for these, but then you have to go to the effort of fitting them, buying them, and of course all this is extra cost that you're putting onto a rig that is cheaper at the beginning. It gets quite expensive after a while, so big perk having that. So 2-speed gearbox on this as well. Again, I didn't really care about any of this stuff at the beginning, but now I've got it. I see the value in having it. I get to where I actually want to play much quicker. But the bigger benefit really is that if I've got to walk 15 minutes to where I'm going to go and crawl and make some of these videos, I don't have to have my throttle flat out for 10-15 minutes to get there. I don't have to run my motor flat out. So, you know, I could use a 3rd speed. I'm going to use less battery. The gears are under less use. The motor's, you know, not being worked as hard. My battery's going to last longer. And plus, it's actually nice to have really that bit of extra wheel speed. Like when we have the snow, I can't really drift any of my other crawlers like I could with this one. Again, just another aspect of fun. And body designs. So, other than the tactical, which of course isn't a scale, and maybe question what you think on the sport, only because the windows are blacked out. I really like the bodies on these. The Defender took the RC community by storm, and I think it's awesome. I've got my D90 up there, and that thing has cost a lot of money to get it to where it is now. And for a fraction of the cost, you can have the Defender by Traxxas. It's a brilliant body. The Bronco is a brilliant body as well. But then they do have great bodies on the Axial too. So the Honcho, the Rubicon, the Wrangler, the Cherokee. You know, they're great. If I touch on the strengths out the box now of the SCX10.2, it's got a very simple design, which means that if you want to modify this in the future, it's probably going to be easier to work on. There's just less to work around. You can do more of what you want to it. It's pretty much simple. Like I touched on earlier, the reason I ended up going with the SCX10.2 last year was because I didn't know if I was going to start modifying it, and all the extra electronics and stuff on this kind of put me off. So it was a bit more of a safer bet for me to go ahead and go with the Axial. I don't regret it at all. It's just much more of a simple truck to work on. Also makes cleaning it very easy too. Just spray it down, hose it over, and there isn't really many areas where water pulls up and then sits and goes stagnant and stuff. So it does make a difference for cleaning. If you buy the kit version, and yes, this is going to be the same for most kits, the tyres aren't glued, which meant that straight away when I was building this from the kit, I was able to put some metal bead locks on. God knows what this would have been like if I'd have put the plastic ones on. They are ridiculously light. I think it would have been a bad decision to build it with them plastic ones. So if you do buy the kit, don't even bother with them. Just chuck them in the bin. Or keep them for spare wheels, you know, to go on the back of your trucks. But don't even think about using them. You need a lot of weight in these to get them to climb over the things you want them to climb over. On all the bodies, the windows are clear, which is what I didn't really like with the Bronco. Yes, I managed to sort that, but it would have been nice if they'd have just not blacked them out in the first place. You don't have that issue on any of the Axial stuff. The bodies you get with them. If you've got the kit, you get to paint it how you want. If you don't get the kit, they still look awesome. Chuck some wheel wells on them to get rid of that, like the Lexani kind of look. But you haven't got the issue of any of your windows being blacked through, which I think is great. And yeah, if you do get the kit, you're going to get yourself a roof rack. You're going to get yourself some better parts out the box, some stronger components, and you also get quite a few spares. You get a few spare rod ends and ball ends, and also a couple of little accessories like ammo cans or fuel cans and stuff like that. So there's always benefits to taking the kit. Just bear in mind, if you do go with the cheaper ones on of Axial's range, you are going to need to spend more money to get it up to spec, where just their more expensive ones are. You don't really want plastic links and stuff, but I did mention that earlier, but just bear that in mind. So out of the box, taking cost into consideration, they're both equal winners. They both have great strengths out of the box. Axial SCX10.2 is a tried and tested and probably the most successful crawler RC there is, and probably there will ever be, because it's got such a fan base now. However, when Traxxas released this, it took the RC community by storm, and it's holding itself very, very well. If you don't take cost into consideration, best bang for your buck is absolutely this one. There's just more strength out the box. It's as simple as that. This is the one I went to play, took it straight out, had an absolute blast with. I didn't really have to do anything other than things I wanted. When I took this out in its stock form, there was things I needed to do straight away. So parts availability, very important, of course, for wherever you are in the world. I can only say for myself, I have no issue getting parts for Traxxas, and I have no issues getting parts for Axial, so they're both winners for me there. Of course, it's always going to be an important factor. You know, I've looked at the HPI Venture as well, and it looks like a nice crawler. However, parts are a little bit tighter, a little bit harder for me to get here in the UK. So, you know, just take that into consideration for where you are. But in my opinion, I have no problems, and they both are equal winners in that respect. Briefly touched on this a few moments ago. My next point is like future modifications, because you never really know what you're going to do with these in the future. You know, this is like a £400 or £500 investment right now. Give it a year, it's probably going to be like a 1,500 quid truck. If modifications is really important to you, then I'd go with the SCX10.2. That's always going to win in this respect, because it's been out for so long. There's so many aftermarket parts. However, to be fair to the TRX4, it's not been out for that long, really, in comparison at all. And there's so many companies now coming out with all the brass products and all the weights. Of course, all your bead locks and everything work on all different crawlers anyway. A lot of the bodies are interchangeable. So there is certainly no shortage for modification options for this. However, if you really want to be able to build something completely different to the norm, you're probably going to be better with this, just with the more simplistic chassis rail design of this truck, and the fact it doesn't come with wheel wells and things like that. So you're going to have to cut less off if you know you don't want them or they're in the way. But certainly something to consider. So just think about what you want to do in the future with this truck. If you're only going to modify it slightly, then don't worry about it. But if you want to make some kind of off-road overkill Optimus Prime like RC Sparks did, then you might struggle with this, just because it comes with so much extras that you're probably not going to want. Probably the most important thing really is the fun factor. And for me, in all honesty, it took me by surprise actually, and I've been quite excited to do this video because of this. TRX4 blew it out of the park, and that is simply because of the additional stuff it has: the twin speed gearbox and the optional locking and unlocking of the diffs. I live in the UK, where I don't really have any rocks to play on, other than the Recon G6 event that's once or twice a year. So I don't have many hardcore obstacles to be climbing, if you like. So you will have seen a lot of my stuff is forest runs and just general greenland trailing and stuff like that. So it's nice having that extra speed where I can, you know, if I want to jump it, I can jump it over something and, you know, then edit it in slow-mo later. It gives me more options to do so. But I didn't think I'd have so much fun with locking and unlocking the diffs either. That really added a massive element to the driving for me. So I did a little, I've done a little mini series which is soon to be coming out, where the diffs are kept unlocked for all of it, other than when specified, and out of a few hours of driving, I only locked them two or three times maybe, I think. And it was incredibly capable, but it's interesting to have another aspect in your mind of how can I climb this with the diffs unlocked, or how can I climb this with just locking the front or the rear diffs. I can't remember which one you can lock independently, but just added so much more to it. So my final opinion, now taking money out of consideration, and the reason I want to do that is because the kit for this costs £310 or £20, and then I spent an extra £155 on the electronics, the motor, the servo, the ESC, the receiver. The cheaper kit of the SCX10.2 actually ended up being more money than the Bronco, and this was about £450. So I think this ended up being about £20 more. So taking money out of consideration, if I could only have one, I would go with the TRX4. It's blown me away. It's been so much fun to drive. The fact you can unlock and lock the diffs, you can switch into higher speed when you want. The controller is of a nice quality. It doesn't feel cheap in the hand. And if you don't want all that, you know, junk, as some people refer to it as, with the micro servers and that kind of stuff, then get the TRX4 Sport. It's same chassis, you still got your portals, you just don't have the locking and the unlocking diffs. Don't think you have the 2-speed gearbox either. But in all honesty, for me, it's just been so much more fun. You can try and spend a bit of money on a crawler up front, but trust me, it does not take long to start spending a fortune on them. Like I said, this kit was over £100 cheaper at the beginning, but then all of a sudden, as soon as I've put just the bare essentials in it, not cheap stuff, because that stuff always breaks, but just a £50 brush motor, a Hobby-Wing 1080 ESC, and a Savox 0231 waterproof servo, and a Spectrum receiver. It doesn't take much at all to all of a sudden spend half as much again as what the truck cost on just getting it to run. So, at the end of the day, buy what is going to make you happy. Don't make this decision based on how much it's going to cost you overall or upfront. Forget your upfront cost, because typically what I've found is if you spend less at the beginning, you're going to spend much more in the coming few months. So if you're just about to be able to afford one truck, maybe wait another month to see if you can buy the better one. But hands down for me, this has been so much more fun, and I am absolutely chuffed to bits to have it as part of my collection. You guys are going to see a lot more running videos of them both. If you followed the build for this, I'm absolutely stoked with how this has turned out in the end. And both trucks, let me just make it perfectly clear, are amazing, and I don't regret having either of them. This is just something I wanted to do to give you guys my sound opinion that if you can only have one, which one to go for. There's a lot of Traxxas haters out there. I have no idea why. I like Traxxas stuff. I've got my X-Max, I've got my Slash, but that in no respect makes me like a Traxxas fanboy, as some people just hate on it. I've had nothing but great experiences with them, and whenever I've had a problem, their customer support has sorted it. But then I've had no issues with Axial either, to have to say anything badly about it. However, in the kit, there was the wrong size bearings. My local hobby shop did sort that for me, but that was just disappointing because there'd been a lot of reports of it already, and it did stop my build midway, which was very frustrating. But hopefully, guys, this has been some kind of help to you. Whatever you buy, you're going to have an absolute ton of fun with them. So if I can give you any advice, don't focus too much on the money you're going to spend up front, because you'll end up spending more than you ever planned anyway. Trust me, now I'm 3 years in now and I've got quite a collection of cars. We all know that this bug gets very addicting. Buy which one you want, buy which one is going to suit the terrain in which you're going to run. One thing actually I should have mentioned earlier is the licensed tyres on the Axial. They're okay, but if you're going to run anything that is like very cold surfaces or wet, they're too smooth. The tyres are way too smooth. So factor in a set of tyres as well for an Axial SCX10. You can't go wrong with either, but my opinion is the TRX4. Let me know in the comments if you had this dilemma yourself. Let me know which one you went with. Let me know if you now have them both. Has this video helped you guys? I'm not sure. It's something I wish I had seen when I was trying to decide way back in the time which one I wanted. buy one, you'll get the other one at some point anyway. So guys, I'm going to wrap it up now. Big thanks for watching if you managed to get this far. I hope this video has helped you. Please remember to subscribe if you haven't, hit the bell for notifications, and as usual guys, we'll see you on the next episode of Experience RC.